Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to the show. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, British by birth, but American by choice. And as the lady at the start of the show says, just like the Founding Fathers. Think about it if you're a new listener. I know my regular listeners already know about that. And folks, this is episode 247, the last show of 2014. So another year has come and almost gone. I will use this opportunity to wish all of my listeners a very happy, safe, and prosperous new year. All the best for 2015 and beyond. But before we get to 2015, which when this show was being recorded on the eve of New Year's Eve, we've got more to talk about. At this time of year, most TV or radio political commentary programs do a retrospective of the past year. A few look forward to the coming year. So this explains the title of the show, right? Looking forward or back. I decided to look back in this show, but not in the form of a true retrospective. There are enough of those going on, but more some things that show the impact of some topics that have taken place during this year or even before this year, but really that things that have come forward, I would say, in this year. Now, next week, the first show of 2015, I think I might look into what we can expect in 2015. And I would also like to remind you, don't forget the special show on January 20th, episode 250th, with a very special presentation. I don't want to reveal too much and spoil the surprise. Just let me say that it too looks into the future, but in a way that might surprise you. Tonight, however, let's look back at a couple of topics. Not even everything that went on in this tumultuous year, but some commentaries from around the internet, basically. And the first one I want to start on is All Lives Matter, End Thug Life. That's right, All Lives Matter, End Thug Life. Before I get into the meat of this topic, I'd like to mention, if I have enough time at the end, that All Lives Matter, I'd like to come back to that, but we'll see if we have enough time at the end. And this came from the Locked and Loaded blog. Interesting one if you want to look that up. Look up Locked and Loaded as one word. Do a Google search on that. Lots of interesting posts there. But I thought this was a very good one, given everything that's happened in the last, let's say, 8 to 12 weeks, with all the things going on around the country. And, I'm talking about Ferguson, Staten Island, and everything else. The blog writer wrote, "We are watching a lot of racial tension build up in this country, and it occurs to me that it needs to be discussed. But how are we supposed to be able to talk about it if anything anyone says, who is not black, is called a racist? I am not a racist, nor am I a bigot. I am an American, and so are you. So shut the hell up about skin color. It is time we started talking truth and no longer accept excuses. The black community has no real leaders today. Any successful black man that speaks up about personal responsibility and doing for oneself is ridiculed and called names. Well, enough is enough." Whoopi Goldberg said that only blacks can understand being discriminated against. This is coming from a successful black woman. Think about this. She's not telling black people that you too can be successful. She is making excuses for them for being held back. We are watching tensions in the black communities rise with local police departments. The tensions in New York are as bad today as they were in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And just an editorial note here. I chose this post. You see what this writer is saying. I mean, I think he's hit the nail right on the head. And there's more. So let's go on with his commentary. How in the year 2014 have we gone back 40 or more years? What we have is a culture of violence that has evolved over the years. The black community, or the minority as they are often referred, have proven that the minority can affect the majority. The problem is when you then focus in on the minority and remove everything else that you find the majority of the minority is the problem. If you want to protest that Black Lives Matter, why not exhibit that for yourselves? Black on black crime happens far more than white on black or even black on white. But we don't focus on that. And here, again, editorial note, here the writer, I think, means the black community doesn't focus on the black on black crime, but they blow up this perception of this white on black crime, which the statistics show is just total hogwash. Anyway, back again to the post. Why are the black neighborhoods the most unsafe to live in? Why is the crime so high in black communities? What are the minorities of blacks, the law-abiding citizens, going to do when the thugs take back control of the streets that the cops protect? And again, editorial note here, maybe the writer meant that the cops used to protect if the cops took my suggestion of saying, okay, if you don't want us in there, we'll go. Anyway, back to the post. If Black Lives Matter, then do something. Quit blaming everyone else for your problems. I have black friends that have an education and have made something of their lives. Discrimination is a cop-out and a flat-out lie. And again, editorial note, I would agree with that. I know plenty of black people who have done very well for themselves. And that's not despite discrimination. Yes, there is a little bit, but don't use discrimination as a cop-out. Back to the post. In the early 90s, all the way through 2000, companies were encouraged to hire more blacks and other minorities, including women. As a matter of fact, you were more likely to be hired over a white person. But blacks still say they can't get jobs. and that was in a booming economy. So guys, get an education. We all have the opportunity to get an education, but it is up to us as individuals to do it. No one can do it for you, and no one is going to do it for you. Racism exists in all aspects of life. It always will. But there is much less today than at any other time in our history. Editorial note here. Except perhaps black racism against whites and other races. And I also have some, maybe not in this show, but some info about that. Anyway, back to the post. If racism is your excuse to blame the world for your problems, then you were never in the fight to begin with. It is an excuse to be lazy. How about we start teaching our black young men to be men, to treat women with respect and to respect themselves? How about we teach our black young ladies to be ladies, to respect themselves and their bodies? Quit breaking the law and living this thug life. Nothing good comes from a life of crime. The writer stresses, I am not saying that all blacks are criminals, but let's face some facts. The majority of convicted criminals are black. And until we face that fact and are willing to talk about it and say, hey, enough is enough, let's do something about it, nothing will be accomplished. Good, respectable black citizens live in fear of the black youth and gangs in their communities, but rush to their sides when something bad happens to them. This is insanity. It's time we start speaking the truth and not give a crap if your feelings get hurt. I'm sorry if the truth offends you, but the majority of us do not live in fantasy land. Mike Brown was a thug, plain and simple. I look at the Eric Garner case much differently. I don't think anyone should be arrested for selling loose cigarettes. However, before you make this a racial issue, I don't think that little white girl's parents should be ticketed for having a lemonade stand either. The crimes are about on the same level. Eric Garner is a travesty, but it in no way, shape or form justifies the killing of police officers. And editorial note here, it was in no way, shape or form a racial issue. Remember, there was a black sergeant who oversaw this arrest, and therefore I think that takes away all possibility of a racist type approach. The police, back to the post, the police are already heavy in your neighborhoods because of high crime rates. You want to solve the problems with the police in your community? Stop the crime. End thug life. Bring family values back to the black community. Take some responsibility for yourselves and do something to make a difference, and you will find that the rest of the country will actually support you. Editorial note, what perfect words those are. Back to the post. Al Sharpton is a disgrace to all black people, and as long as the black community keeps rallying behind a man that has made his whole life of race baiting and keeping racial tension alive, you will get nowhere. Because the truth is, a lot of us are sick of hearing it. Do something for yourself and your people. Remember, that came from the Locked and Loaded blog, and it was signed by Revolution Is My Name. I'm pretty certain someone like that would thought it best idea not to use their actual name because they get a lot of reaction to that. Okay, folks, it's time. I'm actually a little late for my break here, but let's get in to the messages, and I will be back shortly.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And thanks for sticking with me through that break. Before we go on to the next topic, I do want to lighten things up a little bit in between these topics because they do get a little heavy. And also it is the end of the year, so kind of a little bit of a celebration. Regular listeners may have picked up, I think I mentioned once or twice, about 6 months ago, I acquired a 1951 Oldsmobile classic car, which right now is in the garage having some serious work done to it. My back operation had a bit of an issue, causing some delay, not getting to work. But I've restarted the work on the car, and because of that, got back into 50s music. And then I remembered I had a song which had been sent to me a while back, and I thought I'd play this for you again tonight. It's got some good words, it's got a good message, but also in honor of my my new vehicle. Here's a little bit of kind of 50s sounding type music.
Taking my country back, putting it back on the right track. Corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I could hear them say, hey, take your country back, my friend. You gotta take your country back. Get out of my way or slip on this train. I'm headed to my Washington house to let those suckers know on election day I'm gonna kick most of them on out. And shout no more high taxes. We want a free market system. We don't like socialism. See, we believe in capitalism. And we love our children, and we love this nation. So let's protect our borders and protect our freedom. I'm taking my country back, putting it back on the right track. Corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I can Son, you gotta take your country back. Take your country back. Oh yeah. You gotta take your country back. Now Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Quincy Adams too. If you could go to Washington one more time, what would you say or do? I'd say no more high taxes. We want a free market system. We don't like socialism. See, we believe in capitalism. And we love our children. And we love this nation. That's why we wrote the Constitution, to protect our freedom. So start taking your country back, putting it back on the right track. Now corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I'd like to hear them say, take your country back right now. Yeah, you gotta take your country back. I'll take your country back right now. Son, you gotta take your country back. Oh, take it back. Take it back. And put it back on the right track. Oh, take it back. Take it back. And put it back on the right track. And put it back on the right track. Oh, yeah. God help us take our country back. And put it back on the right track. Yeah, put it back on the right track. Oh, take it back. Take it back. And put it back on the right track. Oh, yeah, take it back. Oh, take it back. And put it back on the right track. Oh, take it back, take it back, take it back, take it back and put it back on the right track. Oh, yeah.
Well, there we are, 50s music and a great message for today. What better combination can you have? Anyway, folks, I think it's time for a new topic. And as I said, the topics are a little heavy, a little dark today. This next one is called I Stopped Caring Today. The author's name that was given was Lieutenant Daniel Furseth, which leads me to believe that he's a police officer. Now, I don't have any confirmation of that. I would like to think he is. But either way, even if he isn't, it's I think a very powerful message, and of course very applicable today with all the issues going on around the police and everything. And this is another one that I think, is a great message. I agree with everything that you hear in this, but let me get started with it. Today, I stopped caring about my fellow man. I stopped caring about my community, my neighbors, and those I serve. I stopped caring today because a once noble profession has become despised, hated, distrusted, and mostly unwanted. I stopped caring today because parents refuse to teach their kids right from wrong and blame us when they are caught breaking the law. I stopped caring today because parents tell their little kids to be good or the police will take you away, embedding a fear from year one. Moms hate us in their schools because we frighten them and remind them of the evil that lurks in the world. They would rather we stay unseen, but close by if needed, readily available to fix their kid. I stopped caring today because we work to keep our streets safe from mayhem in the form of reckless, drunk, high or speeding drivers, only to be hated for it. Yet hated even more because we didn't catch the drunk before he killed someone they may know. Nevertheless, we are just another tool used by the government to generate revenue. I stopped caring today because liberals hate the police, as we carry guns, scare kids, and take away their drugs. We always kill innocent people with unjust violence. We are called bullies for using a taser during a fight, but are condemned further for not first tasing the guy who pulls a gun on us. And if we do have to shoot, we are asked, why didn't you just shoot the gun out of their hand? And when one of us is killed by the countless attacks that do happen, but that are rarely reported in the lamestream media, the haters say, it's just part of the job. I stopped caring today because conservatives hate us, as we are the government. We try to take away their guns, freedoms, and liberty at every turn. We represent a police state where jackbooted, badge-wearing thugs randomly attack innocent people without cause or concern for constitutional rights. We are Waco, Ruby Ridge, and Rodney King, all rolled into one lone police officer stopping to help change an old lady's tire. I stopped caring today as no one wants us around, but instantly demands answers, results, arrests when a crime takes place. If a crime isn't solved within the allocated 60 minutes it takes CSI on television, we are inept, incompetent, or covering something up. If we do get lucky, it was just that. And everyone with a Facebook account can post wonderful comments of how they would solve the case and how we were not nearly as clever. I stopped caring today because a video of a cop 6 states away from a department that you've never heard of screws up and forgets his oath of honor, thus firing up an internet lynch mob of cop haters, even though 99% of us work twice as hard not to end up in the news and to still be the good guys. We are militarized because we wear body armor and Kevlar helmets when shots are fired or rocks are thrown at us, and carry scary-looking rifles, even though everyone knows they are easier to shoot and more accurate than a handgun or a shotgun. I stopped caring today because the culture of today's instantly connected youth is only there to take and never give back, to never accept responsibility for one's actions, but to blame everyone else instead of themselves, to ask, what's in it for me versus what can I do for you? To idolize gangsters, thugs, sexually promiscuous behavior, and criminals over hard work, dedication, and achievement. To argue that getting stoned should be a right, yet getting a job or an education is a hassle. To steal versus earn. To hate versus help. Yes, I stopped caring today. But tomorrow, I will put my uniform back on and I will care again. As I said, folks, a very powerful message. Time again for the next break. I will be back after these messages.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Boy,
Man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, whew, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday, and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me. IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the Tax Doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the Tax Doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. Again, 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And we're halfway through the show. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately. Actually, a little bit more than halfway through the show. Before we go on to the next topic, if you think about the thread that kind of combines the two previous topics, I think the major one is that we have a serious loss of morality in this country. And there's rather a nice song from Bruce Ballot, who sent this to me. Great song. So a little bit more music before we go on to the next topic.
At a public school in 4th grade in 1961, we'd start each day the same way, say the 23rd Psalm. We'd pledge allegiance to the flag, recite the Golden Rule, and the 10 Commandments proudly hung in the hallway of the school. Every time there was a gathering, someone would always pray. There was no doubt that back then God blessed the USA. Now it seems we turned our back on God, though we say in God we trust. And I wouldn't blame him in the least if he turned his back on us. How many cried his holy name when the terrorist attacked? You know the devil and his gang will keep on coming back. What's next for us? What does it take to make us understand? We need to take this country back and put it back in God's hands. Granddaughter's in the 4th grade, went to school with her today. We pledged allegiance to the flag, but under God we did not say. No Bible in the classroom, they didn't know the Golden Rule, and the 10 Commandments were long gone from the hallway of the school. Even at a football game, are we allowed to pray? How could we let this happen? How did it get this way? Our kids aren't taught the truth anymore. Don't you think that it's a shame? The greatest nation on this earth, built upon God's name. How many cried his holy name when the terrorist attacked? You know the devil and his it back in God's hands. What's next for us? What does it take to make us understand? We need to take this country back and put it back in God's hands. In God's hands. In God's hands.
Yes, a great message from that song, I feel, as well. And interestingly enough, noticed that Bruce was singing, "We have to take our country back and put it in God's hands." Of course, the prior song was, "We're going to take our country back." So, little thread there, a little bit of totally uninteresting trivia, I know. Okay, folks, I think it's time for the next topic. And this kind of tips on a little bit with some of the words of some of the message from this last song. It was posted by, and again, this also comes from the internet. I want, these are just great messages, and these people are saying it much better than I ever could. So I wanted to bring these to you as a kind of the end of the year thing. Was written by a guy called John Hawkins. And he says, "Here's a message that's almost never said that our country desperately needs to hear. And the message is, Americans need to be a lot less tolerant." Ooh, that'll get some liberal panties in a wad, that's for certain. Sorry, little editorial comment there. Anyway, back to the post. "One of the most ironclad laws of life on planet Earth is that you get more of what you reward and less of what you punish. If our goal were to encourage the destruction of our entire society, would what we celebrate and punish culturally be much different? Maybe it would be a little different. Movies like The Passion of the Christ and its inferior cousin, Exodus, Gods and Kings, wouldn't be made. There wouldn't be anybody celebrating the military, and shows like Duck Dynasty wouldn't be allowed. But most of what we celebrate culturally these days wouldn't need to change at all. If the whole country bought into the values being pushed by most of Hollywood, MSNBC, on Lena Dunham's Twitter account, and the rest of the LSM, we'd be a banana republic before Chelsea Clinton could take on Jenna Bush for the presidency in 2040. Editorial note. There's a horrible thought. Anyway, back to the post. That hasn't always been the case. There was a time when American culture trumpeted the values that made us successful, which most assuredly were not tolerance, diversity, and being nice to each other. Not that any of those values are bad. Let me repeat that. Not that any of those values are bad, but they're also not very important in the grand scheme of things either. You can exemplify all of those values and still be a completely immoral, lazy weirdo whose existence is a drag on the rest of society. Yet, we don't want to say that because it has been hammered into us that it's so essential to be tolerant. When I think of tolerance on a society-wide level, a story Mark Stein once wrote about comes to mind. Mark Stein wrote, "Once upon a time we knew what to do. A British district officer coming upon the scene of suttee." And suttee is the Indian tradition where a widow would be put on the husband's funeral pyre to be cremated with him, even though she was still alive. So the officer coming upon a scene of sati was told by the locals that in a Hindu culture it was the custom to create a widow on her husband's funeral pyre. He thought very quickly and then replied that in British culture it was the custom to hang chaps that did that sort of thing. Now, editorial note here. Great story, of course, because it shows how sometimes tolerance can go too far. And that's happening here in America all the time. John Hawkins went on to say, there are many great things about India. Curry, pajamas, sitars, software engineers. But sati was not one of them. What a pity we're no longer capable of being judgmental and discriminating. How many people are there who wouldn't want their kids on drugs, who wouldn't want anyone on drugs living in the neighborhood, who wouldn't hire someone who regularly uses drugs, but are okay with drug legalization and are cheerleading marijuana legalization in Colorado because of tolerance? What about Christians who are okay with Satanists putting up displays at Christmas time? Newspapers slurring Christianity, and atheists putting up billboards attacking their faith. Then there are those people who want the police to be tough on crime and keep criminals out of their neighborhoods, and yet they turn a blind eye to protesters who are cheering the death of cops, blocking traffic, and generally encouraging lawlessness. We also can't forget about the Americans who are simultaneously complaining about the lousy job market. And yes, it is lousy when there are less people working today than there were when Obama was elected. Editorial note here. And all that BS about things being better is just that. It's BS. Yes, finally, after 6 years, the economy is improving slightly. But if you didn't do anything, and Obama didn't do anything, after a while it will self-correct, and it is now self-correcting. But no thanks to dear leader. Anyway, so who are simultaneously complaining about the lousy job market, yet are refusing to deport illegal aliens or halt illegal immigration. Refusing to deport illegal aliens or halt legal immigration until the job market improves. Editorial note. Now, as you know, I'm very much in favor of legal immigration, but the writer has a point here. If we've got so many people out of work, should we be allowing people to come into the country? Or maybe only people for which the people out of work can't fill the roles that are needed. But most of the illegal aliens, let's face it, are low-paid, unskilled workers that anybody could do. But anyway, I digress. Back to the post. Tolerance doesn't have to be a synonym for stupid, but it is for too many people. And the further down the rabbit hole you go, the worse it gets. Okay, I've got to take one more quick break here, folks, so just stick with me, and I will be back after these final set of messages.
Reporting from the eye of the storm. This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks. And I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again. I'm predicting this storm front is heading your way, so call Basement Systems and relax.
Call 800-205-8665 for your free in-home inspection, or visit basementradiooffer.com. That's 800-205-8665, or visit basementradiooffer.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a four-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-750-5371. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-750-5371. That's 877-750-5371.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And we're into the final segment of the show here. I was in the middle of this section, How Much Should We Tolerate, was the title on this post. And just to go back to where we were, tolerance doesn't have to be a synonym for stupid, but it is for far too many people. And the further down the rabbit hole you go, the worse it gets. Xiang Hoi Cho, who killed 32 people at Virginia Tech, had once written a school report about wanting to repeat Columbine and was removed from class for being dangerous, but nobody took any further action until it was too late. Ismail Brinsley actually boasted on social media that he intended to kill police officers before he murdered the 2 NYPD officers. Nidal Hassan was openly calling himself a soldier of Allah and reaching out to Al-Qaeda before he murdered 13 soldiers at Fort Hood. Know why nothing was done in any of these cases? Because Americans are obsessed with tolerance. We turn a blind eye to every ignorant, foolish, obnoxious, and unhealthy behavior you can imagine, all in the name of tolerance. Americans would rather be falsely smeared as racist, have their religion insulted, have their children's mind poisoned with garbage, and see their country go down the tubes rather than being thought of as intolerant. We've become so tolerant that we're destroying ourselves. We've got people openly siding against our country in wars. We're defending traitors who publicly release our national security secrets. Protesters are walking down the streets with police protection while they chant for dead cops. An editorial note, of course, they did get that as well. Anyway, back to the post. How about a little less tolerance and a little more common sense? How about we start being less worried about being fair to people behaving badly and a little more worried about those being hurt by those behaving badly? You may have heard someone say the Constitution is not a suicide pact. Well, in a time when tolerance has come to mean that you have to embrace lawlessness, encourage cop killers, and celebrate degeneracy, then it's time to accept that tolerance isn't a suicide pact either. And again, this is, as I said at the beginning of the show, I want to look at things that have come up in the past year or even earlier than the past year, but really coming into play more and more today. And I think this writer, again, also with this post, hit the nail on the head. We are way too tolerant. It's about time we started bringing more common sense into what we do. Okay, just time for one more quick topic. And this final topic, and I wanted to mention it. I said when we were talking about the earlier topic that I wanted to come back, and the first topic was about the thug life. Well, in this topic, I want to talk about the double standard in the mainstream media. But it relates obviously to the thug life, and with all the noise going on about Ferguson and Staten Island and all these bad cops, etc., what about black on white crime? Do we hear anything about that? No, the mainstream media conveniently forgets that. So this is a terrible double standard that you see in the LSM. A 12-year-old boy, Keith Passmore, was recently shot in Georgia. This is in December, so very, very, very new. While names such as Michael Brown and Eric Garner get all the national attention, nobody has heard of Keith Passmore. Why not? The reason is both simple and infuriating. It doesn't fit the media's narrative. Passmore was sitting in a pickup truck with a 20-year-old friend, Christopher Martin. The two were parked outside a house, apparently waiting to pick someone up. Suddenly, a man dressed entirely in black clothing banged on the vehicle's door and told Passmore to open up. The older Martin recognized that they were in a dangerous situation and told the 12-year-old not to open up. Martin started the truck and tried to drive away, but the would-be carjacker fired a handgun at them. Christopher Martin was able to speed off. When he yelled at Passmore to see if he was okay, there was no response. Passmore had been killed. As you might have already guessed, on the reference to the media's narrative, Keith Passmore was black and his killer was white, and his killer is black. In an ideal world, the race of the shooter and victim should not matter. But the media's double standard means that they conveniently forget about this sort of thing. And yet Michael Brown becomes a household name. After all the things going on with Ferguson and Staten Island, all the ones that don't fit the media narratives, quietly kept out of the news. In Missouri, a white Bosnian man was violently murdered by a group of black men with hammers. Shortly after, another group of black thugs in the same location pulled a white woman out of her car and beat her unconscious. You never heard about that, did you? A white teenage girl named Ashley Marie Scott was murdered by a black shooter in Illinois. Her name's not in the headlines. 4 black gang members also executed a white police officer in Virginia. Safe bet that Al Sharpton won't be holding a rally in his memory. So this double standard is an important thing that needs to end. Okay, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this week's show, all of the shows of this year. Please tell your friends. Like I said, the next show, the first show of 2015, let's look forward and what we can expect in 2015. And, of course, don't forget that we have a great show coming up for the 250th show on the 20th of January. So, folks, I hear the music starting. It's time to say TTFN. Please join me next week. And remember, tell all your friends. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Patriot Come Lately Show. Please take what you have learned and share it with friends and family. Better still, tell them about the show so they can listen too. Remember to support the advertisers on the show. It helps keep this show on the air, and I thank you for that. I'm looking forward to joining you on the next show. Until then, keep spreading our message. Goodbye, and God bless America.